The best music for hard-working people. Get the job done with Radio.
And now your feature presentation.
Hey there, rockers! Welcome to Bands, the Good, Bad, and the Ugly with Dr. Dog on the show where we get real about the ups and downs of band life. Your host, Dr. Dog, is locked and loaded. So let's do this.
I can't believe it, that I'm the one that feels this. I told myself I should let go 100 times or more, and so I'm sorry. But I can't let you go. Wish I didn't need this and everything beneath it. Sometimes it gets so hard, it's pulling me apart and I can't stand it. But I can't let you go. How do you leave behind what you want? How do you dial it down and turn it off? How do you say goodbye and move along? How is anyone that strong? Maybe if I try, it hurts less inside. If I stop needing to explain the feelings I can't change and I don't like it, but I can't let you go. How do you leave behind what you want? How do you dial it down and turn it off? How do you say goodbye and move along? How is anyone that strong? If the truth can set you free, then I confess that this is killing me. All the pieces from the past and all the days I can't get back. Every day that I can't have. How do I get over that? How do you leave behind what you want? How do you dial it down and turn it off? How do you say goodbye and move along? How is anyone that strong? 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 Tell me, how is anyone that strong?
The one and only Dr. Dog here, welcoming you to Bands, the good, bad, and the ugly, bringing you the ins and outs, ups and downs of band life. So let's get to it. Let's rock and roll.
The song you just heard was Strong by Rosanne Baker Thornley, and that was a great song. Doctor's guest today is Rosanne Baker Thornley. First of all, again, Rosanne, what a great song, and it's an honor to have you on my show. And how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh,
It's good.
it's our honor, and thank you so much. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh man. Okay. Well, I joke that the benefit of being 20 is that you just have a little bit of time to cover. I got a lot of time to cover. A little bit about myself. I'm Canadian. I'm located in Toronto, Canada. Um, let's see. I'm a singer, songwriter, heavy on the songwriter. And I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. And I'm a mom. I'm married. Just all those other things that are all other aspects of your life.
You do the whole ball of works. Then, in other words,
I got it all. I got lots to talk about.
That's great. And how do you find time to put your music in with everything else going on in your life? I mean, when do you actually start writing or creating or coming up or recording? Because I mean, you said you're a mom, you're married, so anybody that's married and has children know that it's a lot of work, so, and a lot of time taken up. So how do you split your time up?
Well, it's interesting because when I first started in music, I had all the time was my own. And then as a mother, I actually stepped away from the business a bit. And I had an album 28 years ago. So there's 28 years between my albums. And my new album, as you know, is called Sorry I'm Late.
Yes.
And there's one line in the song in particular that says, I had to raise the kid, I had to walk the dog. Now that's one line, but there's a whole life in there.
Oh, yes.
So I pretty much parked everything. I dusted off my guitars. I was still doing some writing in the background, but I'm also very much a believer in immersing yourself in your moments, especially if you're loving it. And for me, I had spent so much time on the road, which was great. I extracted myself from the road at one point in time to start working on a recording career. And I'll just tell you, there's a pivotal point in time when I was recording my video for my first album. And I was on set, and my husband rode up with my daughter. She was young. She was, a year and a half. And I'd been working on the album the whole time. I was pregnant and everything. And they rode up on the bike, and I was sitting there, and they were calling me back to the set. And I was like, there was a moment when they rode away and they were calling back to the set. And I was like, I don't want to go back to the set.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to the bike.
Yes.
So that I have moments like that they're moments of clarity. They're true moments of like, you can't deny the moment. And that's when I called up who was my distributor at that point in time, was Sony, and said, I'm going to shelve my album for a little while. Well, a little while became quite a while, right? Because then I started thinking, well, the writing. I love the writing. The writing is me. And I'd always been asked if I'd write with other people. And I always turned it down because I was like, I'll write for me. And in those moments of, raising my daughter and my family life, and yes, I was writing and doing my thing, but I was definitely very focused on being a writer. And because I'm at the heart of everything here. I do everything because I write them. I sing because I write. I play because I write. I don't aspire to be the most amazing guitar player. I sing what I sing and the way I sing. That's the way it comes out. And so the balance. So now I was going to say that now my daughter's grown up, and I don't have to have that same day to day with her. So I stepped back in quite a few years ago now as a writer, and started working with people. I started calling up producers going, okay, I'll do it. I'm here. And I love the idea of being in the room with people and falling into their space, like literally falling into their space, their heart, their story, the conversation, and capturing that in song and helping them. So I'm still doing the mom thing. I'm just doing the mom thing with artists now to some degree.
Right, right.
Because I've got experience of, back in my day,
Well, your experience and knowledge is priceless. So, when you're working with other artists, especially younger ones, then what you have to say is again priceless to them, and whether they listen or not, which some do and some don't, but individuals like yourself that has the experience, that's been on the road, that's been touring, and then I guess all artists, maybe, and musicians and bands, they always hit bumps in the roads. And a lot of bands that start young. I mean, my band, me and my best bud, Vinny Rose, started a band in 72, and we formed our last band in 86, and all members stayed together. But, they get married, they have kids, they have regular jobs. And so it's hard sometimes to fit that time in for your music. And,
it's all consuming, right? That's the thing with, I think there's a huge benefit to people, artists, having a band and going on the road and knowing what that's like. It's great. It's family. It's dysfunctional family at times.
Yes.
It's all those things, but you really hone your craft and you're on stage, and whether there's 2 people in the audience or 2,000, it's the experience of knowing how it all goes together and the why
Right.
of, the why of why am I doing this? And it's definitely a pull, isn't it? The live playing is definitely,
you question yourselves at times of why am I doing this? Because you got great times and then you've got of course the bad times and then the real shitty times. But sometimes you long for, I just want to be back home. I want to, I'm tired of this. And then other times it's like, man, I don't want to go back home. I want to stay on the road. And it just depends on your mindset. I mean, back in the day, we were real young. I mean, and so for us, it was, fun and games. But as you get older, you see that, hey, I've got other responsibilities. I can't be, a kid anymore. I've got to grow up to a certain point. I have a theory it's called the Peter Pan theory, which is, you in your mind, you keep yourself young, which keeps everything else young. And but unfortunately, we have responsibilities in life. So, but it's.
Yeah. I was going to say, to that point, it's almost, if you didn't know how old you are, how old would you think you are?
Exactly.
And I think that's what you live in. And I also think that with music, because I was talking to a young artist about this the other day, you find a place for it. You do find a place for it. And it is consuming, and it's great. I love that about it, that you're so invested in it. And that's a great place to be. And that's an important place to be. Otherwise you won't survive it. But it's also, you figure out where you can fit it in your life. And now, because I have time back to myself again, to some degree, I mean, I'm still, I still have my husband, I still have my daughter and everything around me, and I work a long day.
I bet you do.
I put in a long day of music, but it gives me more space than I could have with all the other responsibilities, but it's good. It's good.
So do you find yourself, if you hadn't taken the break, okay, and taken that time off, do you find yourself in a better place now that you did do that, as far as your music and your creativity? Do you find, since that space and time has opened up for you, and that you took that time off, and that you basically allowed yourself to enjoy your family, just life in general, away from the whole music business? Do you find that break, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 year or 30 years or 28 years or whatever, but do you find that break helped you out?
Well, it gave me perspective, and I have to, and as you know, it's a daunting business at times. And no matter how much, it's like there's music and then there's the music business. They're really 2 different things. Like, to be in music is one thing, to be in the music business, and the music business gets a little, I mean, I joke, but it's sometimes true that it's heartless. It is a heartless business at times.
Yes.
And especially for the personalities that are in music, because they're very, for the most part, we'll say they're giving, they're emotional. And I would say you almost have to be schizophrenic, because you have to be that person to write the music and feel it and get it out of your head and out of your mouth to be a song. And then in the business, you have to be able to go, I don't care. That's fine. Yeah, think what you think. So it's interesting. So when I stepped back in to do this album, people were saying, well, why an album now? Like, there's so many years. And I would say, and you'll know what I mean when I say I'm doing this now because I don't care.
Yes.
But it's not that I don't care in that sense. It's that I like it.
Yes.
I'm not worried about what it does or it doesn't do. It's a place that I'm comfortable in. I think you have to be happy with what you're doing first. And yeah, if other people like it, wow, that's great. But if they don't, at least at the bottom of it all, the foundation, you feel good about what you're doing. Otherwise,
Yes.
I don't know why you're doing it. Otherwise, I really don't know why you do it if you're trying to chase something that you think is going to make everybody else happy. I don't.
Well, you're selling yourself out is what you're doing. And what you just said makes 100% sense, that, you get to a point after so long of doing this that, maybe at the beginning it was all about, oh, we want everybody to love us and we want to love our songs. But it gets to a point where it's like we put out, a kick-ass song, and I'm 100% happy with it. Everybody in the band's 100% happy with it. And we couldn't have done any better. And that's it. I mean, you can only do your best today. Maybe tomorrow you can be better, but when you're in the studio and you're recording, and you take a lot of preparation to get there first, but the end result is the best song you can put out. That's the end result. And it comes from not just being a great musician, but I love our music. I love music in general. That's why I'm doing what I do. And I respect all artists, all genres, all musicians. I don't care what you play. I don't care what you sing. I don't care if you're good, you're bad. It doesn't matter to me. The whole point is that you are doing something that 99% of the people will never do in their lives, that want to do it, but they don't take that step to do it. So, whether you're good or bad or not, you got to give them credit to say, you know what, you're trying. And, you may not be the best, but you know what, you're trying, and you're doing something that, like my dad and mom always told me, if you don't ever try it, you'll never know. And, and the only two answers really out there in the world are yes and no. I mean, it's either going to be yes on a question or no usually. And so, it never hurts to ask. It never hurts to pursue. But what I was going to say is that your music comes from so much within your soul and your heart that it comes out in your music. And that's something that's very apparent with your music, is that, you can, and that's what I love about music, is that, it's supposed to attach and create emotions in individuals. Now, you may think that this is the emotion I want to evoke in the listener, but every listener is going to have their own emotion. Yeah. They're going to have their own thought process about what the song is about, how it means to them as far as, relating to their life, or it may be just a great song, or it may remind them of something or somebody, or down the road, something may happen and they'll think right away of your song because it touches them in a way where they don't forget about it. And because it's pure and it's whole, and it comes from your soul and your heart. And I think real people I shouldn't say real people that enjoy real music, that really know good music, can tell that in an artist. And
there's all different lanes in music, right? There's all different genres that have all different purposes. There's all different reasons for writing songs. Mine just happens to be, as it is with many artists I know and I work with, it is like, I know when I was younger, my guitar was a place to go to try to figure things out.
Yes.
It was, and I think that's why I think for me, music was, I had to go to it to feel something, feel different. You know what I mean? To solve the problem or get it out or cry about it or whatever it is. So, and I think that's, to me, that's what the vehicle of music is. Like, that idea of when you write a song, and there's nothing better than that moment of going, oh, it's just this amazing moment of release and relief and just, you feel good about yourself. And I think that's what artists need to connect to, is their why. Why am I doing this? Because it should make you feel good. Like I was listening to an interview the other day with the Rolling Stones, who are putting out a new album, right? They have a new album coming out in October. and they were being interviewed by Jimmy Fallon. And they asked them, Jimmy Fallon basically said, so I hear that, you've got your new album coming out, and did you write, music that you thought your fans would love? Oh, and I was interested to hear what the answer was. The answer was, no, we wrote what we love, and we hope our fans love it as well. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's coming, how old's Mick Jagger now? 80 years old. He's still in that space of, I'm creating music that feels good to me. And man, if you love it, we're all on the same page here.
Right. The Stones, I've listened to the Stones almost my whole life. And, they stayed true to themselves, except when disco hit. And that's when they varied a little bit. And was the song good? Yeah. But, was it the Stones? No. But in the business, some artists feel like they have to, and back then, disco came in and it attacked hard. It attacked rock and roll really hard and other genres. And so, they had to look at, how do I adapt to this period right now? And I really believe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have an interview about it, but I don't really believe they wanted to go that route. I don't, but I think that they were forced to survive that period of time and music genre, like a lot of the bands did that. And
but the difference is, I think, is with the Rolling Stones or anybody with that profile, we all do that. I say, basically, I was offered a dance deal at one point in time because of one song I demoed, and I got offered a dance deal. I didn't take it because I didn't think I could live. That was a long time ago. Because I didn't feel I was a dance artist, that I could live that. So I didn't take it. But I was experimenting behind the scenes. My first album, a little bit of country, a little bit of ambient, kind of Bon Iver, all these different kind of sounds. I had my album was like the best of, because I could do all of it. But I'm behind the scenes. So not everybody sees me going through that. The difference with someone like the Stones is you're trying all this, but you live always in the public eye.
Yes. Yes.
So whatever you're experimenting with, you put out an album and people go, and they go, well, I don't know, it didn't really work for us, but we just wanted to experiment. You should be in music trying different things because you evolve or you change or you find things, wow, that's where I kind of fit.
No,
my album right now is singer-songwriter. It is singer-songwriter, but again, they don't really know where to put me because it's singer-songwriter, but it's got a bit of a ambient edge to it. Like, what is that in there? So it kind of puts me in my own category by myself, which is nice, but it's also a challenge for the world to go, where do we peg her? Where do we put her? Just slot her in here.
Right.
So I kind of fit nowhere, but fit everywhere. I kind of like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always been like that, but, and it's fine. It's fine. Because I find the people that like it.
It makes you unique, number one. And so if you're unique, then, that's something that's sought after, is something that's unique. So sometimes it's good to be different like that, to where they don't really know where to put you. But then again, like you said, it kind of can be frustrating because it's like, well, put me someplace where I need to be, not just anywhere. You want to put me at the time. So, but so let me ask you this: what kind of relationship do you have with other indie artists, and do you guys support each other? Do you guys back each other? Collaborate with each other? What kind of relationship do you have?
Well, I do a lot of writing with other artists and emerging, but also established artists. So I really am grateful for the relationships I have with many artists where I'm not only writing with them, but we're producing, because I have a group of producers I work with as well. And we're producing their songs and mentoring them through, the hoops. And I mean, it's one perspective. It's not the perspective. It is one perspective on how you might go through this. But I do find, based on my experience in the industry, no matter who I'm talking to, I have a lot of insights into how to do things or how we could approach this. I also have a pretty solid background in marketing, because when I took time off from music, I was running my own, basically, design advertising firm. I understand, but I was also even in that world of the real. Let's communicate the truth here, and let's promote it through messaging. It's nice how it looks, but what is it you're saying? It's not dissimilar to what I'm doing right now when I'm working with artists. And it's very much, I was just talking to a producer I do quite a bit of work with as well. And we were talking about it this morning, how we're community. I love community. I love working with people. And I like that I trust people.
That you can trust them.
Yeah, I do. I like that. And I mean, by nature, I look for good in people. I look for being able to trust them. It doesn't always work out, but for the most part, I like that about myself, that's what I look for. So as I said, I'm writing with a lot of different people, all different genres. Like you wouldn't even recognize me in many songs, to the point where I've thought about putting a Spotify playlist together or Apple of just, here's all the songs I'm part of. Because it's a shock to people when they go, whoa, yeah, but I've got a lot of background in a lot of different types of music as well. And I really do respect the person that's sitting in front of me and that they know who they are. It's not my job to write their song. My job is to fall into the same spaces they're in and find where that song goes. So I learn all the time, because we'll be writing something and I'll go, well, that's not how I would, like phrasing. When somebody has a certain phrasing and then they try to sing your phrasing, it's like, whoa, it's like free falling. But that line didn't fit, but as soon as you phrased it differently, it kind of did fit and it works. And you go, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So people will write things that I wouldn't have written. And that's great. I wouldn't. And I think about that line and I go, well, but they want to say it and it works. So it is.
Well, isn't that the end result as far as the song working and developing into the best song that it can be? So,
yeah. And them loving it and them saying, oh, this is so me. This is, yes. And it is you. That's the benefit, I think, of having people in the room with you, even if they're not, it comes down to some art. Not every artist is a writer. They're not, but they do have a story and they do have feelings and they do have things they'd like to share. So even if it's as simple as a conversation about what's going on in your world right now, well, this happened, that happened. And because I'm always writing lines. I'm a constant line writer. And when I'm talking to people and writing down something they said, it could be the most basic thing. Like, sorry, I'm late. When I wrote that song, that came out of a conversation. It came out of a conversation. I was going to be late. And I said, I might as well just put it in my email footer. Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm late. That would be an interesting name for my album. But I didn't have a song. But I sure found that song fast when I was sitting at the piano, because I was just writing about, why am I late getting here? I had to raise the kid. I had to walk the dog.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same. Everybody in the conversation, whether they're writers or not writers or just Joe on the street, he has a story and there's value in that. There's life in that.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. I really do. So people that have said, like very, very young artists, for instance, will say, well, I don't feel like I'm adding much. I don't feel like but I'm like, but you said that. And that took me over here. I wouldn't have gone there without you saying that. And they're like, well, that's the truth to me. Well, then that's what we want. Because I want you to get up on that stage or stand in that studio and feel the song.
Yes.
Because I know my songs when I was in the studio, a few times I just say, give me a minute, because I was so emotional in the moment of remembering the feeling. I was right in that moment where I just say, okay, guys, hang on a sec. I'll just give me a moment and we'll get back to recording. And try to pull myself, you're in that moment. That's what it should be.
Yes. No, I agree. And the end result should also bring that emotion to the listener, again, in different forms. But I think you can tell the difference in music when it's it comes from the writer's soul and heart, and like you said, it doesn't always necessarily mean who's singing it, but it's the lyrics behind it. And ultimately, what I believe that catches the listener's attention is the music at first, and then when the lyrics come in, that's got to grab them as well. And because if the music doesn't grab them at the beginning, then chances are they're going to flip you or, change you or not listen at all because they don't like that music intro, and it's like, God, you haven't even heard the words. You haven't even heard the song. Well, I don't like the way it sounds.
Yeah. And that's fair. There's all people, no matter what you write, It is not going to resonate with everybody. That is for sure.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. First, it's got to resonate with you, because even when I'm myself or when I'm working with people, I'm saying, okay, stop singing. Stop thinking about singing the song. Think of this as a conversation you're having with somebody, because it's going to change how you sing it. You're going to feel it different if you think about that person or whatever the situation is. You're trying to convey a feeling. So as much as it is about writing the song, having the lyrics, it's also about the emotive experience of performing that song.
I agree.
You can switch it up. Are you angry? Are you singing it like you're angry? Or are you feeling vulnerable? Because that's about pulling people into that moment with you. And there's no denying that. When you've got a great voice, a great song, a great delivery, people are there with you. They are, and that's what you want.
Yes. Well, speaking of great songs, we're gonna go into the next song from Rosanne Baker Thornley, which is "In Paris."
I got on a plane 'cause had to meet you in Paris. That was the plan. We climbed the stairs to Montmartre, up to where the painters paint portraits in the square. And it wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last. And I could not help but think, just take this in, 'cause it all goes by so fast. Chefs in white aprons, cafe tables of patrons waiting to dine. The night was amazing, sharing, talking, and tasting such a fine bottle of wine. And it wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last. And I could not help but think, just take this in, 'cause it all goes by so fast. Nothing could prepare us for when I left you there in Paris and kissed you goodbye. I remember you wanting your own Parisian drawing, a piece of the weekend to keep. You picked the chair and I paid the artist. Watching you smile would've broken my heart if it wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last. And I could not help but think, just take this in, 'cause it all goes by so fast. Nothing could prepare us for when I left you there in Paris and kissed you goodbye. I just knew that this trip was definitely different when I kissed you goodbye. It wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last. And I could not help but think, just take this in. I could not help but think, just take this in. I told myself, don't think, just take this in, 'cause it all goes by so fast.
I really actually like this song a lot. I mean, again, it conveys a lot of different thoughts in your head, and it was just a good song. So
thank you. Well, it's written by real moments.
well, after talking with you, from the beginning, it's really apparent that that's what it's about. And again, when somebody listens to your song, they're not aware of that. They're not aware. They're thinking, oh, it's about this, it's about that. And in reality, it's not about any of that at all. But that's okay, because you want to, again, evoke that imagination and thought process into your listener about what the song is about. What do they mean about that? Is it about them? Is it about somebody else? And I was just thinking when I said that about Alanis Morissette, about a lot of her songs that she writes, and it's about, like you said, it's about her experiences, and she puts them into words, whether it's a bad relationship or whatever else that she's singing about. Pretty much right away that what she's trying to say in so many words, and then you can take it from there and in your own thoughts and process. But I don't know why I thought of her when we were talking, but it's just a perfect example of somebody that you remind me of them, and them remind me of you, because it comes from that experience, and from that knowledge, and from the heart, and from the soul, and from my life. And to a lot of musicians, that's real important when they write a piece of music that really has come from something in their life. And it's so important, like you said, because that makes it even, you want to put more into the song and make it even better, even though it's going to be as best as you could be, because it means so much to you. So it's like a baby. It's like, I want to carry this baby from birth to, graduation, and I want to see him, flourish. And that's what we think about when we do our songs. It's a baby, or it's being born. And then once it's born, you nurture it to adulthood. And that's
there's
when
passion. And there's passion.
Yes.
Passionate about it. It's not just somebody says, what's the song about? I don't know. It's about, whatever. No, it's like, it's about this. It's like the story that goes with it. And again, back to on stage, and this from performing on stage, there's a power to that stage and sharing what you're sharing with your audience. And it should be like that. And people can tell that you're feeling it. Yes, you can feel it in all different songs, but those songs that really connect with you. So it's like a journal entry. They're like journal entries, really. I can go back and look at all the songs I've written in my life and pinpoint the time I wrote it and why I wrote it.
And see, and that's the way it should be, because they're your songs, and you wrote them for a specific reason at a specific time. So you're always going to remember that. And then, as far as being on stage, I always look at it as like, when I talk to people, it's like I get plugged in. I mean, the energy and the feelings I have when I'm playing with my mates and on stage or in the studio, it's like a drug that you'll never ever find, that'll never do what it does to you and make you feel the way you feel. It's phenomenal. It's just like, man, it's just like the greatest day of your whole life over and over again when you're together. And we record as a group, and then add on, extra vocals or instruments or whatever. But that creativity that's in the room, I mean, it's like, well, okay, I laid down my track, so you go in and lay your track, and you go in and lay your track, and it's like, okay, and you're listening to the song over headphones, and to me, that doesn't do it. I got to have my guys with me, and because that energy just flows around the room. It's just like, and you can just feel it, and everybody's just like connecting. And I always tell my guys, if you could see yourself on film while we're playing, I said, you guys just like light up. It's just like you spark up, and like a beam. And because they don't realize that, and they don't see what I see as far as, man, you guys just, when we're on stage or we're playing. And I said, you don't realize that, but I do.
It's like if you see the poise of a gymnast, right? Or a ballerina, where they're one thing in a moment when they're just sitting doing whatever, but as soon as they stand up to do something, their whole body language changes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I was going to say, one of my favorite in performing live, for sure, one of my favorite times was with my band going on stage when the stage was all black and there was the audience was there, but there was no lights on, and just standing in the dark on that stage with just us. And all of a sudden, just before, and then those lights come on. Wow. Like there's so much in that quiet moment of just being together in the dark on the stage before the lights come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just feel that connection going all the way around the band. And it's like you're booting up your computer. It's just like everybody's.
Yeah.
So it's phenomenal. Well, let's talk about, do you have any, well, you do. You have a new release coming up. Your album's coming up. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, the album came out. The album is out. But what I'm doing is, in this world of singles, a few things was, the album's out. Sorry I'm Late is out. But what I'm doing now is I'm taking songs from the album and singling them out. Because I'm not of the world where you put out a few singles and then the rest of the album. No, I'm of the full belief that because my music is my type of music, I am getting behind probably every song on this album to share it. And sharing it means me getting behind it to go, okay, here it is, here, pointing people to it. So the song we just now singling out is called Give Me One More Night. So Give Me One More Night. We've just finished. I just on Friday released the video for it. So it's there. I am so pleased with it because it's a more of a cinematic film experience. It's music video, obviously, but I'm also, my whole world is very visual. I also do quite a bit of photography. And there is something about connecting images with music that is so powerful that you can see kids playing in a playground, put music to it. It changes the moment. I just posted something the other day of driving down the road. You know how you do that with your hand out the window?
Yeah.
Right? And we were driving, my husband was driving, just note, safety note. He was driving, but I rolled down my window and I was doing the wave thing as we went by all these country fields and everything. And I converted it to black and white and I put a Yo-Yo Ma track to it.
That's cool.
It changes the moment. And my hand is now dancing on the waves of driving to. So anyway, this new video is Give Me One More Night is very cinematic in that respect. I love everything about it. It's great. I have a great director, I had a great cinematographer, very small team because there's barely budgets in this world of music.
Yeah.
A lot of money going out. Yeah, the money coming in is not, there's a definite imbalance there. So I'm so fortunate to have people around me that believe in my music because it makes a whole difference to what I'm able to do and the scope of what I'm able to do and the reach of that, because they're like, we just want to work with you. That's nice.
To have somebody say that to you is it's humbling, but in the same aspect, it's like, because why would they want to work with you if you weren't good?
Yeah.
Plain and simple. I mean, why would anybody want you to write songs with them, write songs for them, work with them in any way, shape, or form? And they come to you. Okay, that's the thing. And I've talked to artists in my interviews, and they'll say, a label has come to them versus them going to a label. Yeah. And so it's like, well, they came to me. So obviously they saw something they liked. Yeah. And so they came to me. So because, the industry and we won't really get into that, but it takes advantage. It's if you get into a distributor contract where you can put the music out, they don't like it, then they can deny putting it out or say, no, go back and do it again. And then you've wasted all that time and money. And people don't realize it takes a lot of time in itself to put a song together, let alone an album, and then get to the point of all the time it takes to make those songs perfect, and then go into the studio and make sure they're perfect in there. And, they don't realize they hear a 3.5 minute song. Well, how long did it take in the studio? How long did it take that 3.5 minute song for you to practice it, to get it to where it was, to where you can go into the studio? And, just because it's perfect while you go in doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect in the studio. It doesn't run that way. Oh. And so, you're eating up time from anywhere from $75 to $200 an hour, which starts as soon as you walk in the door. And then you got to allow yourself time to break down at the end, because they're not going to say, okay, well, we spent 6 hours at what we paid for, so let's break down. No, your butts are out the door in 6 hours, not in my studio still, tearing down your equipment.
Don't you also find that in the studio, it's similar to writing? It is similar to that same space where it just disappears. Time just disappears.
Oh,
like, when you sit down to write something, you think, I'm just going to sit down. And 4 hours later, you look up and go, whoa. Same in the studio. It's like, we've been here how long? It's already 6 hours, and it's like free floating time almost. Not free, but it is free floating time as far as, because it's got this very lovely energy to it.
Well, you get so wrapped up into it that time doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's cool. I love that.
You don't look at watches or clocks and say, oh, you when you do that, you realize, well, we've been in the studio 8 hours now, and it feels like we just got here, but 8 hours later. So, and it's but just people just don't realize that all the work that gets put into it, and all the sacrifices and financial and mental,
Everything.
I mean, and yourself, I mean, you can come out of the studio and go home and going, I wasn't really quite happy with it. It was good, but there's something about it I just not right. And then bugs you, and then you go back in the next day and boom, you realize what it was, you fix it, but you don't ever let it go when you're making, when you're recording and you're producing that product at the end. You don't let it go. It's always in your mind. And at least that's what I find, that until it's finished, again, it's your baby. Okay. You put it in the crib, you just don't forget it. Nowadays they got monitors, videos, they can watch them, make sure they're okay. What are you doing? You're nurturing and you're making sure your baby's okay. And that's what you're doing in the studio. So, it's just a phenomenal process, to be in. So, let me ask you this, because again, you've been doing this a long time, and your music is I want to say phenomenal, but I don't want to say that word because I sometimes say that too much. But it means the same thing. It's great. I mean, it's hard to describe how it makes you feel, and I think that makes me want to, as a listener, to listen to them again and again and again to figure that out. What I'm feeling in the song, because sometimes if I don't feel anything or it doesn't evoke anything, it's like, that was a good song, and I go on.
Right.
I mean, but the ones that kind of stay with you, and you're pinpointing the lyrics, and you're thinking, man, that's touching something in me. But what is it touching? I mean, is it a past memory? Is it something that's gone on lately? Is it something that I want to have happen? But it's just something you're invoking in your mind. So, what have you found that facing criticism or rejection? Because I'm almost positive that all musicians at one time in their life, in this career, face that rejection and criticism, and about your music, your genre, how you're doing it, how it sounds. Have you faced a lot of that, or a minimal amount? Because every band, every artist is different.
I just think it comes with the territory. I really do. And again, it does. I'm thinking back to when I was looking for my first record deal, right? I was definitely looking for a record deal. My mind has completely changed in all that at this point in my world and this world. But I remember in particular shopping demos and people going, wow, great singer. The songs are okay. And then the next person, great songs. The singer's okay. It was like, all that did for me was tell me why you should just try to be yourself.
Yes.
Like this road of seemingly kind of a desperation to I don't know, fame. I don't even know what fame is anymore. It's this funny word. It is, because it doesn't mean one thing. Well, what's your version of fame?
Right.
So yes, there's a lot of, you gain a lot of insight. And you can walk through this whole career wounded all the time and taking everything to heart and everything and I'm whatever, just having a difficult time with it. you got to try to learn from some things. You can listen, but you got to listen with an open mind sometimes. And then other times go, okay, well, that's okay. I'll file that for now. It all depends on your level of how much you're affected by it. Like I say, you can live, you can be in it, but you don't have to live in that. But you can be in it and take it for what it's worth and see what you do with it. But it's a difficult landscape to navigate at times. No doubt.
Do you see that by working with the younger musicians and upcoming artists, do you see that they take the criticism a lot harder and to heart than artists like us that's been in the business as long and has learned that, because I think at the very beginning, again, all artists, they protect their music, and to them, their music is like the greatest ever, which it should be, but they get real defensive when you offer any type of criticism or comments on it that's, I don't want to say negative, but that's not 100% positive. So do you see that the younger artists take it more aggressively and defend it more aggressively than you would, like saying, hey, you know what? That's great. If you like it, you do. If you don't, that's okay too, because you know what? I know it's a great song. But how do the young ones take it?
I would say it's funny. The people I'm working with and the young artists I find they're pretty open-minded.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I find that as much as they believe in what they're doing, but they're like sponges to some degree to want to learn. Like they want to grow. They're not in a place where they're going, like when I was 16 years old, I figured this is it. I am 100% grown up. I'm not going to get any smarter than this. Right? That's not the way. I mean, I don't care what age. And I'm thinking about because it's an interesting question, but I think about all the different artists I work with or collaborate with. And I find that they're pretty open-minded. They have a good sense of who they are. But I'm thinking back to one particular artist that's amazing. We were sitting at the piano and he was singing. And I was like, well, he said this line, back to that line idea, this line doesn't fit properly. And I said, well, why don't you try singing it like this? Like this guy is well on in his career and he knows how to sing a line, but I'm saying my phrasing's different. It is. I have different phrasing. And he tried it. It was hard at first, like, whoa. Like, hey, I really like that. So there's a willingness. And I've always said to everybody, just try it. You can always go back. You can always go back to what you were or what you had or all of that. But I love when people offer up things that you don't know. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. Exactly.
Well, that's collaboration. That's why when you go back to saying, I like to write with everybody in the room, whether they're sitting there listening or they're, giving input, but the one that's sitting there listening is putting in input. He's thinking about it in his head. He may not know how to relay it like the rest of the band or you do, but he's listening and he knows, what's good and what's not. And, I'm a percussionist, so I can't really get into all the talk of the way the guitarists do and the vocalists do. I just don't do that. I'm a percussionist. So, but they have their own language and they know, I know. And so as long as we can collaborate together, because if they play something I don't like or I don't think is right, I'll tell them, and that's the nice thing about us is that we take the criticism good,
Well, that room should be safe.
Yes.
Room should feel. I mean, I'm a songwriting vault. I mean, I work with people that will say, "Well, I've never told anybody this before." Well, it's not going anywhere past me.
Right.
It's just this is the conversation, and that's the safety. Like when people sit there and cry, that's the safety of that room to feel and to find what it is. So back to the point about young artists or artists in general, I find there's a willingness to want to try different things. Because what about? I mean, when you're writing, it's all about, well, this might not be it, but what about? What about? And even if it's not, it's probably, I even know that's not the line, but what about this? And they go, oh yeah, but what about, because it just goes bing, 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 as it should.
Yes.
And I do find there's a willingness. Can't think of anybody that just says, this is the way it is. this is just the way it is. They're all like, and I almost find with more experienced artists that nobody ever does push them. They don't push them because they figure they got, like, in the studio, they're singing it great. But they love when somebody says, hey, can you try this? Right. Oh, okay. Because it pulls them somewhere different.
Well, they're thinking what they think as far as their song, and then an outsider's sitting there listening, they have a different view on it. And it's like, you said, let's try this instead, or try this riff, or try this line in here instead. And what do you have to lose? It's either going to work in it or it's not, but try it at least. And our theory, or at least my theory with ours is, listen, guys, I don't care who sings it. The dog can sing it. Okay. As long as it comes out to be the best. Right. I mean, it's you got to put your ego aside and say, listen, you're our singer, or you sing a lot, or you're whatever, you wrote this song and you really want to sing it, but listen, he sings it better.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, you have to say that, and it's not like you're saying anything bad to him or saying, hey, you're terrible. It's just like, listen, for this song,
this makes sense.
His voice sounds better. And so I always look at it that way. And it's not like I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but in the same breath, again, my goal is to make that song the best it can be, because I don't want it to be put out and go, so-and-so should have done this, or so-and-so should have done that on it. And it would have sounded a lot better, because it's already done, right? It's a done deal unless you redo them. And it's just like, that's redundant. Why do you have to redo something? Because it should have been done right the first time. So
that's what I loved about working with the producers I work with, in particular, the producer on my album, who was Will Scholar. And it's all about serving the artist and the song. It's not about, here's my sound, how are you going to fit into it? It's about, what does this song need? I don't need the latest beat.
Right.
I don't need, that's so 2 weeks ago. I don't need that. I need something that is more timeless. If there's a focus on my voice, a focus on the lyric, a focus on the emotive experience of the song, as in Give Me One More Night. I mean, that's a perfect example where Will had played, he was playing guitar on it, and he came into and I was listening to it, and I'm thinking it's a tad fast. And he's playing it, and it was great. What he played was great. And we spent a lot of time getting that perfect. And I said to him, I think it's a little fast. And he said, well, but it's going to work in the scheme of it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I listened to it. And when I came back into the studio the next day, I said, it's too fast. And he was like, we spent so much time. I know we spent time, but I can't live with it.
Yes.
So he said, well, I'll go back in the studio and I'll play it slower and see what you think. Right? So he went back in the studio and he played it a little slower. And I joked that it's the most relaxed I'd ever seen him play in this part. And he came in and he said, yeah, that was perfect.
See?
But that's what I mean about serving the song. Because I went over the lyric again and I said, remember, this is what we're talking about. And this is how, and I've got to sing it and I've got to feel it. And I'm trying to feel it too fast. So that was Give Me One More Night. And then was Strong, to the point of getting it to the point where it needs to be before you go in the studio. I remember sitting at the console and we're now mixing the song. And how many times have I heard it at that point? I mean, we built the track, I've sang the track, I've done the harmonies, it's all that. And I'm laughing. I'm sitting at the console and Will's like, what are you laughing about? And I said, young artists need to know that by the time you get to this point, it's way too late to change anything. It really is. Yeah. Like if you're not happy with a few lines in that song, or you haven't, it's not good enough, isn't. If you say good enough is obviously not, or if it's fine. But when we're sitting there, you have to be listening to it going, I am good with this. And I have to live that song the rest of my life. I have to listen to it, play it, talk about it, all of it. People are going to redo it, all those things. So that back up to the beginning of, everybody's in too big a rush, I feel. Everybody, not everybody, that's a huge blanket statement, but a lot of people are just clamoring for content that a lot of it's good enough. But no. And I agree. It's you get an artist put out 12 songs, maybe one or two is where it should be.
and the rest is just fillers. They're just putting them out, churning them like a puppy mill. You know what I mean? It's just like pumping them out, boom, 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 and it's just like, what are you doing? I mean, you have to put it in a pot, put it on the stove, and put it on the back burner, and let it simmer, that song that you just put out. And because a lot of the artists, especially the young ones, they put so much out, they bury. Like I said, you could have 1 out of 10 songs that's just like phenomenal. It's like the fucking phenomenal song. Well, that song becomes buried because they've put 9 more out after it. And so that one is now kind of back. You know what I'm saying? It's not in the present where it should be because it's such a phenomenal song. But you're right. Bands just think, man, we got to put out more and more and more.
That's
and
pressure.
more.
I find the industry is a little upside down. It definitely is a little upside down, where the emphasis is on more, and all more is more. Sometimes it's not. It's just more.
It's not quality.
And I think artists need to rein it in a little at times to go, okay, more is just more. So let's take some time. And we all know songs. There are some songs. I've sat down and written a song and went, that's perfect, and it's done. It's not the norm for me. And I don't know if that's the norm for everybody else. It really is it's amazing how much you learn about a song when you step away for a second and listen to it and go, oh, yes. It's like even in the room writing with someone, I can sing it all day long. If the artist sings it, I go, yeah, that line doesn't work.
Right.
It worked when I sang it, but it doesn't work when I hear it. So let's do something about that. That is, I think, just everybody needs to just slow down a little bit and take some time to back to the other conversation about be happy with it, be good with it, know what you're talking about and why you're talking about it. We don't need just more stuff. It's
too much stuff. Well, we're going to hear not just stuff. We're going to hear a great song coming up, which is Because of Me.
You always seem to blur the line of what is hers and what is mine. I trust your lips but not your eyes, and all the signs that tell me otherwise. In the dark I can undo the talk that leads us right into the words that feed a quiet flame. And you are not the same because of me. Because of me. And I know, I don't wanna let you go. And I know, I can't wait forever, 'cause she ain't never gonna let you go. You might say you understand, but there's no way you really can. You bare your soul and then you leave and tell me you can't stay because of me. Because of me. This time that I keep bending, I walk a line that has no ending. And you can say what you believe, but you keep coming back because of me. Because of me. And I know, I don't wanna let you go. And I know, I can't wait forever, 'cause she ain't never gonna let you go. Every time you come, you change. You change. Every time you go, you change. You change. And I know, I don't wanna let you go. And I know, I can't wait forever, 'cause she ain't never gonna let you go. because of me.
So, Rosanne, tell us about some of your experience and stories about touring, and kind of focus a little bit because there's always the good parts of the touring part, but a lot of people don't, listeners don't realize the disgusting and the bizarre events that you encounter on the road and at venues and in hotels, motels that you stay in, or so do you have anything that you can tell us that you would like to tell us about some of the bizarre events and stuff that you've encountered?
Life on the road. There was a lot of life on the road. As I said before, that there's a lot of great experiences in it. There's also challenging places you play that the audience doesn't necessarily want you there. That was interesting a few times with a band. And I was fronting a fairly, not heavy, but it was loud. We had a very big show, so it was very loud. As far as negative experiences on the road, I mean, I had a road manager. My husband was my road manager. So he dealt with a lot of the challenges that I wouldn't have had to deal with. And I ended up marrying my road manager. But
because he took good care of you, right?
He took good care of the band, and he was in a different frame of mind. It's that creative brain versus the business brain sometimes, right? And what you'll put up with. But we were just talking about this the other night, and like, for instance, showing up for a gig and setting up the entire show, and then saying, so where's the band staying? Oh, well, she's going to stay with this chef, and he's going to, and we're going to. It was just like, no. There seems to be an absence of. Sometimes it used to be an absence of respect for the band, in that they put you in some other category. Like, I stayed in places that managers or whatever, bar managers, had put us up in, and I'm like, I don't live like this at home. Like, I don't know how. I shared a dressing room with male strippers once. That was an interesting experience. And it was just like, you just take it. You just kind of go, yeah, okay, so this is what it is. So there's a lot of that. Or having, of course, during the day in a lot of these clubs, they had strippers during the day and us at night. So interesting personalities, definitely interesting personalities. But life on the road, you have to be fairly open-minded. You do. And things happen, like the bookings are kind of odd at times, and you live with it. Or you have two people in the audience because you're way somewhere and no one knew you, whatever, so many different things like that. But nothing comes to mind as immediately super challenge. There's a lot of challenges, even just the players on the road sometimes.
Yeah.
It's life on the road. It's sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Yep.
Especially when you're traveling I was traveling with 7 guys. So it was interesting watching the world, not my world, but watching the world around me and how that was perceived and how that rolled out at times. And I could probably write a book at some point. I don't know if I will, but
well, that might be something to think about. So did you see or find that, like with the rest of the band, the other guys that you were with, was there a lot of the drugs, sex, and I know there's rock and roll. So
there is. It just seems to go with the climate at times.
Yes.
I never felt I'm happily and luckily, I just didn't fall into the bucket of much of the drugs in music, mostly because I'm a bit of a perfectionist too, and I knew I had a lot of words to remember.
Yeah,
and just my whole being. Because I remember at one point having an agent come up to me at one point saying, "You should probably wear less clothing on stage. That would be of a benefit to everything." And I looked at him and I said, "I think you've mistaken why I'm even on this stage." But that was in my 20s. It was, even back then I was like, yeah, no, I'm here for a purpose, but that ain't it.
Right. Well, it is really prevalent. Sex, out there is prevalent in rock and roll. I mean, look at the rock and roll videos, the women they have in them. Even the women artists, musicians, really, rock and roll ones, that you see how they dress. And it's part of it, and that's what the listeners, that's what the people that come and see you live want to see. They want to see, the women dressed like that. They want to see them in leather. That's something they expect. I mean, that's what kind of the show wants to kind of put out there. It's like, it's not all about, drug, sex, and rock and roll and wearing leather and, chicks having big boobs that are in the videos and, models. And I mean, that's what people see. That's what they put in their minds. And if you want a lot of some of the documentaries, it glorifies that, but it doesn't bring out the shit. It doesn't bring out what you really go through. And why? It's because it's like, well, they don't want to see that. They don't care. They want to see this guy, have some chick in the dressing room, or they want to see him puking because he drank so much. And they focus and they keep that mind of thought in people, like, this is what a band goes through. This is drugs, sex, rock and roll. This is what rock and roll is all about. And, but ultimately, it's not, and that's just a small portion of it.
It's more than just the highlight reel.
Yeah.
And as far as people doing what they want to do, like back to the point of, if you're good with it, then do it. But you have to own it. Like, you either own it or you change it. And if you don't want to wear that, and someone's pressuring you to be that person, you don't have to be that person.
No.
I mean, I remember meeting with an artist at one point in time who they had figured out who she was. This is who she was going to be. And I was looking, I remember reading, and I didn't have a chance to meet her before, but I'm reading it going, is this you? And she's like, yeah, that's what we've decided. And I'm like, well, I wasn't feeling it in this room. I wasn't feeling that's who she was. And so anyway, we wrote to that. And then she came back a couple days later because her manager said, well, she just wants to talk to you about who she is. Oh, okay. So we had a good long conversation about who she was. She completely changed her entire demeanor in her music to be who she was, and life moved on. And I think mentally, we all know there's obviously challenges. There's a lot of broken people. People are broken everywhere. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in the music business,
right?
But you have to be true to yourself. You have to be. And I get, to some degree, the desperation behind wanting the fame, that carrot of fame. But people can't, you're the one that decides to do what you want to do. If somebody says they want you to wear this, we want you to sing this, we want you to do that, if you're good with it, good. Then by all means be good with it. But when everybody goes home at the end of the day, you're all by yourself living with whatever that is.
Right.
And if you can do that and be peaceful and feel that it fits into your life and whatever it is you're wanting, that's good. But if you've got questions about it or it doesn't feel good, that is not good.
No. Ultimately, you have to walk your own line. And speaking of that, here's another song by Rosanne. It's One More Line.
If I was a book, you could turn my pages slowly, look at all the words that wait for you to hold me. And when your fingers touch my spine, they find the place where you left off last night. Every chapter of the story, we get lost in every line, and the part that means the most to us, we say out loud each time. And just before we both fall asleep, we read one more line underneath the covers, and one more line rolls into another, and we don't ever want to close our eyes. One more line underneath the covers, and one more line rolls into another, and we don't ever want to close our eyes. Just one more line. as a book. You could touch my edges softly, lay me on your chest, pull me right against your body. And when you've held me long enough, oh, I will just let go and open up. Every chapter of the story, we get lost in every line, and the part that means the most to us, we say out loud each time. And just before we both fall asleep, we read one more line underneath the covers, and one more line rolls into another, and we don't ever want to close our eyes. We read one more line underneath the covers, and one more line rolls into another, and we don't ever want to close our eyes. We don't ever want to close our eyes. We don't ever want to close our eyes. Just one more line. Just one more line.
That's another fan. I mean, like I said, your music, when I listen to it, it's just, and it's hard for, like, I don't know if it's hard for any other host, but you know, I have certain phrases that I like to use because, like, man, that was freaking awesome. It was just an awesome track, and I tend to say that too much, but it's like I don't know how else to express it to me, because to me it was like, man, that was phenomenal. It was like mind blowing, and so I tend to say those kind of things, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go, oh, it was so beautiful. And I mean, sometimes they are, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, man, that was a really cool song. You know, it kind of touched me emotionally. But, you know, it's just, I just, you know, sometimes have the lack of words to describe how I feel about the song, because it's like, man, it's like mind blowing in a way. And you can, you know, so for me, excuse me if I repeat kind of some of those phrases, but it's just like, God, I don't know what else to say. It's just phenomenal song. I mean, phenomenal song is a phenomenal song. So,
Yeah, thank you.
but no, you're welcome. And so tell us, and you know, you've already kind of touched on things about the sacrifices you've made as an indie artist, and you know, if those sacrifices were worth it, and you know, you pretty much have told us, hey, I walked away. I walked away from my family. I walked away to be a mom, you know, a mother, a wife, you know, and take care of my family and the things that need to be done. And you put your music aside, even though that music meant so much to you, and and just by talking to you, you can tell it's what you do is like such a big part of you. And you know, it's like I always look at it, like for me, I mean, if I couldn't play, it's like part of me. It's like there's something in my soul, like part of my heart. And if I couldn't, it'd be like taken out. There'd be a part of my heart missing, because it's so much of me and so much that I love. I mean, I could care less if our songs did anything other than stay in our studio and you know, on the computer. I don't care. I love playing. I love that. To me, that's, like you said earlier, it's a relief. It's like I can have the worst day, I can have the best day, I could be sad, I could, you know, be whatever, and I go get behind my kit, and it's like, boom, it just changes. And when I get off of it, it's like my whole attitude is like positive. The negative is gone. And you know, some of my friends are learning how to play the guitar and stuff like that, and I tell them, you know, oh, I don't have the time, I'm working late. And it's like, listen, 5 minutes. Sit down with your guitar, 5 minutes, work on 1 or 2 chords. And I said, I guarantee you that 5 minutes, when you get out of that 5 minutes, your attitude has changed. You're going to feel so much better, because that's what music does for you.
Well, it's therapy. Like I love when people say that working with me is, I mean, is this a good thing or bad thing? But it's like therapy, and as it should be.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was going to say, when I stepped back in fully to writing again, and I was heading to the studio one day in my car, and because I was recording something, I wasn't back to being an artist at that point. I was back to writing, more writing. And I was going to the studio to record something just so I had a good demo of it. And I remember saying to myself out loud in the car, where did you go? Because I felt so back to that. It felt like, and it was fine. I wasn't regretting it. I was just like, wow, where did you go? Because that was me. I was in that car driving to the studio, excited about the song, just, all those pieces. So they are obviously, as they would be, a very important part of me. I mean, I started writing when I was 8. So, I mean, I've been writing a long time.
You have, but it shows though that it's natural. I mean, I just by talking with you and listening to you and listening to your music, you can tell it comes from a natural ability, creativity, to do that. Because
it's in my veins.
well, see, but and because you're working with people, if they had the same talents you did, you wouldn't be working with them, would you?
That's interesting. My new thing is that there are people that make pies, right? And they make a really good pie. They can make a pie for themselves and it's a good pie.
Right.
I'm a bit different because I'm a pie maker, because I'm making all different pies with all different people, right? So there's a difference to that. There is a definite art to that, to be able to, because I know, and I mean, this is just an observation, that not everybody can go into the room with someone and sit there and write a song with them.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm very intuitive. I'm very empathetic. Like I can literally walk into the room with someone and my mood will change depending on what's happening with them.
Yes.
They haven't even said a word. Or I can also walk into a room, whatever, having a bit of whatever day, and be with someone and all of a sudden, whoa, I just feel great.
Yep.
Yep. So, the pie maker thing is a great analogy for me, of looking for, pie makers. There's pie makers, but there's not a lot of pie makers, even though people may think, oh, everybody writes songs. They do, but there's a difference to what they're writing and how they're writing them.
Right. Well, like you said, I mean, anybody could make a pie. Okay. Anybody can bake a pie and make one. It's a good
pie. It's a good pie, but it's their pie. That's my pie.
Yes. But a true baker, will make the pie the way it should be made. Because, I made this pie. It tastes great. You make the pie. I taste it. Oh man, this is like heaven. That's the difference. Okay. Yeah. Is that, mine tasted really good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Yours tasted like heaven. And so, it's not that mine didn't taste good. It's just, yours was better. I mean, when I put it in my mouth, my taste buds went, woo, those are great. Versus, hey, that's okay. So that's the way, I'm getting all that from you, is that, you're like the master chef of the kitchen, and you're, you have all these people underneath you, which is the artists that you work with and you write for, but you're the master chef, and you're saying, okay, you made that dish really good, but if you add in this ingredient or take out that ingredient, it's going to be much better. It's going to taste better. Well, and that's what you do. I mean, right? Am I right on that, or what?
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's this movie, and I think it's called, I'm just looking it up, I think it's called Simply Irresistible. It's an old movie. It's an old movie, but it's about a chef that's running a restaurant and having some challenges running a restaurant. She goes to the market, she gets all her ingredients, but she happens to buy this crab that's in the market. And I think he's kind of a magic crab. So she brings everything back to the restaurant. She puts him up on a shelf. Thank goodness she doesn't cook him and throw him in the pot. Anyway, he sits on the shelf, and everything she cooks, now she's stirring soup, and a tear, she's sad while she's making the soup, sad about something in her life, and a tear falls into the soup, and she stirs it into the soup. So everything from that point on with that crab, when it's served, whatever she's feeling goes into her food that she's making. And when it's served to the people in the restaurant, when they serve the soup, they're all sitting there sobbing. And then she makes a dessert, and she's feeling so in love, and she's making this and she's putting it together, and there's so much passion in it. and she serves it to the people in the restaurant, and they're all so in love with each other at the tables. They're just, and you can see them. I joke that I'm the magic crab.
No, that's, I would say.
Then what I'm feeling goes into the songs. And I love that people do say, I mean, I have people coming up to me and they start crying just talking about the song. And it's like, I like that. But I love the most that it's creating so much emotion in them.
Yes.
That was my goal. That was my goal with my music, is feel something.
If you don't have that in your song, then your song is, as far as I'm concerned, nothing. And I like to feel something when I listen to a song. I don't care what the genre is. I don't care if it's soft, if it's medium, if it's really heavy. It doesn't matter to me, but it has to make me feel like, one of the things I do before my shows is I'll put on an LP and on vinyl and listen to it. It just, and old ones. I listen to the 80s and 90s stuff, and Lynyrd Skynyrd and Van Halen and all those. But it evokes something inside me, and it's like puts me in that mood. It's like, yeah, let's go get him, Dr. Dog, and you know what I mean. It changes me, and every different LP I put on changes me in a different mode. It makes me feel something a little different. I'm still happy. I'm still feeling great, but it changes it a little bit, and it's hard to explain how it does. I mean, Van Halen makes me feel a bit, different than Lynyrd Skynyrd, than the Talking Heads or whatever. But it all evokes something inside me, and that's something that you have a gift for. That by talking with you and listening to your music, it's just like, this is great, because now, before my show, I get to listen to one more artist and help me get into that mode, and because I look at who I'm going to be, interviewing, and that's kind of how my mind just picks it out. I just go to my rack and pick out an album, put it on, and it just all works out, So, but no, I want to say I'm grateful for the music that you put out, because like I said, I get one more artist to put into my rotation, and speaking of that, we're gonna go into one more song from Rosanne. It's Give Me One More Night.
That I've laid here, I just assumed that all the years would come and go, and you'd be near. All the nights you held me close, we laughed about who loved who the most. I never thought they'd disappear. I can hear your heartbeat, I can feel your breath, I can feel your warmth inside my chest. I can feel your fingers softly touch my chin. I can feel your lips against my skin. You know that it's the hardest part, to reach to touch you in the dark and realize that you're not here. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but it keeps coming back to me. I always thought I'd be where you are. I can hear your heartbeat, I can feel your breath, I can feel your warmth inside my chest. I can feel your fingers softly touch my chin. I can feel your lips against my skin. I don't wanna leave, I don't wanna stay. Give me one more night for what I need to say. With endless things I should have said, and sunlight is climbing up the wall. I wonder if you really knew how much I wanted you. I should have said it all. I can hear your heartbeat, I can feel your breath, I can feel your warmth inside my chest. I can feel your fingers softly touch my chin. I can feel your lips against my skin. I can hear your heartbeat, I can feel your breath, I can feel your warmth inside my chest. I can feel your fingers softly touch my chin. I can feel your lips against my skin. I don't wanna leave, I don't wanna stay. Give me one more night for what I need to say. I don't wanna leave, I don't wanna stay. Give me one more night.
That was 2 thumbs up on that song. I like that song.
Thank you. Well, that's, as I said, you should check out the new video.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I will. I've got all these things on my list, and then you're right there, like my third thing. I'm looking at going, video watch but Magpie, he's got me on the leash and working me hard as a dog.
Can I mention? Are you cool with me mentioning who's part of my album? Because it's not a long list, but I really do value the people that are part of my experience, my album, and my music. It takes a village, as you know.
Miss Rosanne, you can, and Magpie's going to give me crap for saying that. He's probably going to cut it out. He doesn't like me to say this. That's my Southern coming out. When I say Mr. or Miss, he doesn't like that. He goes, "No, don't call him that." It's just.
I'm cool.
So no, Miss Rosanne, you can put out anybody's name you want to, because this is your time. This is your interview. So anybody that's helped you, that you want to put name out there and give them a shout out, you go right ahead.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is just share who is part of this album. So for one, my album was funded by Factor, which is a funding body up here in Canada that you apply for grants. So I'm grateful that people joke it's like winning the lotto, but it kind of is, So Factor, and they also helped me with my first album. They've helped me with my first album as well. But as far as produced, it was produced by Will Scholar, as I mentioned. It was mixed by Ben Pelchette, who is a producer, an artist, just phenomenal. And Will is producer, but also multi-instrumentalist. So he played most of the instruments on the album. And then it was engineered also by Will. And then Vasey, who owns Kensington Sound in Toronto. That studio's been there for 50 years. And I haven't known it its whole 50 years, but I go back with the studio. He also engineered one of the songs on the album, Barely. Mark Kelso played drums. And as a singer, I am very attuned to the drums and the bass. On stage, I am listening to the drums and the bass. I married a drummer. Drummers are solid. They are grounded. They are the most real people in the band. And I can say that for a fact. Kevin Fox played cello. So he played cello on Gimme One More Night. He also played cello on Strong. But in Gimme One More Night, it's a haunting, perfect sound. It's wonderful. There's 2 songs on the album that I co-wrote with a writer that I worked with quite for years. Quite a lot with other artists as well as Northeastern. So that was on One More Line and Look Up. And it was mastered by Andy Krem in Toronto as well, who used to be my manager, and he was my producer of my first album. And then after me, he went, you know what? I'm moving into mastering. Too many women he was trying to manage. It just wasn't working. And then it was my artwork was done by Michael Wycraft, who's no longer with us, but he loved this album. He's done probably 700, 800 album covers for many artists in Canada. And I would call him and he'd say, I'm crying again. I'm listening to this album, but I love it. He said, it's one of the best. It's the best album I've heard from a female artist in 25 years. So that made me cry.
I bet.
But we lost him just before the album came out. But he'd already shared it early, so he must have, in his heart, known something without knowing. And he posted online about this. Everybody's got to own this album. So that's nice. I mean, that's something.
So did he? No, it is. It's more than something. Did he create his the covers based on the songs in the album?
Because he sent me some album covers to look at, and this was one of the album covers, and he said, look at the album cover and listen to your album. And it's perfect. I have an affinity with trees for some reason, and just the roots and the trees and the reel and just everything about trees. So when he said, send me a picture of a silhouette of you, I'm like, just a silhouette? Doesn't matter. Do I need makeup? No makeup, just a silhouette. And he took the silhouette and put the image of the trees in it. It couldn't be more perfect. Like, it's perfect. And if you had my album in hand, you would see that I've got it here. It's beautifully designed, and it also has the booklet in it. It has the CD in it, so all the lyrics are in it. So he did a beautiful, beautiful job, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And
oh yeah.
And I knew of Michael, but I hadn't worked with him before. And when I did this album, I thought at the very outset of it, I would love to have Michael design this cover. And he did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was just, as I said, that's my team.
Well, that's, what, it sounds like you have a phenomenal team, and that you've met and created relationships with individuals that are, here's that word again, phenomenal individuals, and that's a blessing. It's losing somebody that has done something for you and your music. Yeah. It's like a little piece of you has gone, and because they've helped you and they've become part of you in a way. It's like you guys, of course you're friends, but when somebody does something like that for you and he creates something like that for your music that displays and reflects your music,
yeah,
it's a loss, and it's somebody that you cannot replace, and it's something that will never be duplicated. His work and his art was his. So I don't care who you find in the future, it'll never be like his. And I think very rarely, to be honest with you, that the way you think and the way he thought, and probably your whole team, that's rare. Okay, people don't give it that much thought and emotion into their music anymore, and into how they distribute it or how they package it. It's just, stick a horse on there with a kid on it and we're good. But what does that relay? I mean, when you're looking at the album cover or something, you're going, okay, it's a horse and a kid, but what does it mean? They just push stuff out, and it's.
But you know what? There is a whole lane. There's always been the lanes in music, right? There's the popular lane. It's always going to be there. It's never going to change. But what's happening a little bit now, or a lot bit now, is there's people over here in the grass, and they're so good.
Yes.
They are so good. And there's so much depth. Depth is a huge word. There's so much depth to what they do, and that they do care and they do take the time, but they're not as visible. This whole industry now is about trying to get visibility, especially for something over in the grass over here, because people can't find it. How do you find that music? How do you find those people that care? It's a real challenge. It is definitely a huge challenge in this world right now. Spotify algorithms, they're picking up the popular again. But it doesn't mean that these people in the grass aren't amazingly good, because they are, because I know them.
Well, you know what's happened, because back in the 70s and 80s, there were the underground radio stations.
Yeah.
There were the college DJs. There were even radio stations that ran certain nights for new musicians, new music, local musicians. But the biggest way that independent music got out was the underground radio stations and the college. And they don't do that. They're playing mainstream now. Yeah. And so what the doctor's job here is going to be doing is going to be looking at trying to get a underground radio program going that does nothing more than put out the music, and try to get people educated in a different taste bud. It's like trying new food. It's like, I don't want to try asparagus or something, or I don't like clams, but it's like, try it. And then it's like, like you said, you try something. It's like, oh man, I really like it. It's the only way people are ever going to get, independent artists are ever going to get visibility, is having an outlet like that.
And I don't know what it is anymore. So that's amazing that you're taking that on. What was the movie? Was it Pirate Radio?
Yes, exactly.
It's that kind of, it's not popular, but it's so good. It's undeniable. It's like, it's just good music that people are like, I know there's probably people that would love to hear my music, but it's not as accessible. I mean,
right there.
Yeah.
You got it right. They have to search for you. Or if you're lucky, you get popped up on a rotation, and it's like, but other than that, you're right. It's like, how do I get my music out to more people? Because, it's great, all the social media and all the music platforms. But again, if I'm not aware of you, if I don't know about you, I've never heard one of your songs, how am I ever going to listen to you? How am I ever going to find you? I can go onto Spotify and every blue moon, one of our songs will pop up on, in their rotation. And it's like, oh, that's great. But it's like, yeah, I haven't heard that for like a couple months, and so it's like, how are people going to, you just can't hear a song one time. Well, you can, but it's like, the more you hear that song, the more it becomes, to you, it relates to you. But
part of your climate, right? It becomes part of your climate. And that's why this is amazing, because it's invaluable to artists or writers or artists or whatever, whatever category, to be able to get visibility.
Yes.
So I'm very appreciative of having the opportunity to have my music played around the world for people to just go, oh, that's good. I like that. And to be in rotation in certain parts of the world where people can actually go, oh, I didn't know that was there. Yeah, exactly. That's how you find. That's how you find. How you discover. But there's a lot of stuff out there that you got to cut through, right? There's a lot of, because anybody can put out a song. Back to the pie maker idea. Anybody can put out a song, but do you have 10 more?
Yep.
To claim to be an artist, you have to have more than one song.
Yes.
Got it. You're either living it or you're kind of not. And it's different of wearing it as opposed to being it.
Well, it's like a part-time job versus a full-time job. Okay. Or it's a hobby versus a job. So yeah, I do music as a hobby. Okay. No, I do music as my job. This is my life. This is what I do. And you're right. You've got to put all of it in here instead of just saying, well, our guys get together once a month. We have some beer, barbecue, and we play. No, you've got to have that commitment and keep pushing that commitment. So,
but the hardship for musicians is, as much as you can live your life as a musician, okay, we get that. You still have to make a living somewhere. You can't always make it in music.
No, not anymore.
So you are really doing, like, I worked with a guy the other day, and yes, he's phenomenal in his band, and his band plays, and they go out and they gig, and they're trying to tour, and they're promoting an album, but he's still working.
Yes.
He still has a job, but he has flexibility in his job where he can say, I need to go for 2 weeks because I got a tour. And
right.
and I love that the company he's working for says, okay, that's cool. We know this and we'll figure it out. That is letting people, that's a great way of actually treating people that work for you and understanding they're not just there for work. People are not just, some people are, yes, but some people, they have other things they're trying to do.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the challenge in music right now. There is so little income. It's not just one stream anymore. And I mean stream as bucket that you invested in. It's like you do this. Like me, yeah, I've got my artist bucket, yeah, and I've got my writing bucket. So I'm writing and producing people, right? And then I've also got my sync bucket, which is like radio, TV, and moving that forward. But it's all these. You're running a corporation.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Well, nowadays for the independent artist, you have to do that. You have to promote yourself. You have to run your own business because the industry, and I excuse the language, but it sucks. I mean, they're doing nothing but bending over the artists and taking advantage of them. And again, you know, the music platforms and stuff are great, you know, but, you know, it's so hard for an independent artist to get listened to and but listened to by the average listener because there's so many out there. Like you said, it's just flooded with different bands and artists that are mediocre. And just like I said about the you know, a band can write 10 songs and one of them is just the best song ever, but they're burying it. So what they're doing is they're burying the great artists, the talented artists like you, and because it's just the market's being flooded with all this other crap. And
60,000 songs a day.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. So how can you keep up with it? How can I, as an average listener, say, well, how can I find Rosanne? How could I listen to her song? Well, you can't, and you won't, because she can't get out there and get the exposure she should have and needs, because she's not mainstream. And, you know, if you're not mainstream, the FM stations will fucking not play you. And that's sad. I mean, I talked to one artist and it's like, I've just been, you know, killing myself to get on these FM stations. And I got one that'll play me, but that's it. Nobody else will. And I'm thinking, man, you write some great stuff. You have some, just like you have some great songs. You have some phenomenal stuff. What is wrong with these people? You know, why?
It points to how valuable it is what you're doing. It points to an MM radio, right? It points to the fact that you are singling out artists and taking time with them.
Oh, yes.
And caring. Caring is a simple word, but it means so much, because when you care to help somebody and point it out because you are passionate about it. Like I work with people, I'm excited when they put out the material. I'm behind it 100%. Because it's good, and I'm happy to be there for them. So there's more of this, and having your followers. Yeah, you don't need everybody to like you. You don't, but you do need a core. Like I have a subscriber. I have an email subscriber list, and I think I have about 800 people in there now, and all those people signed up because they
like you. Yeah,
and it's a small village, but it's my little village, and I'm okay with that. I don't need millions. I really don't. I just need a core of people that go, have an appreciation for it.
Right. That's you just want to know that your music's been appreciated by somebody. And again, like you said, you don't need to be 1 million followers or 2 million streams or whatever. I mean, again, you know in your heart your music is good, number one. And number two, it just makes us feel better when we have that core, like you said, that core around us to say, hey, I don't personally care if you like it or not, but it makes me feel good that you do like it. And thank you so much for doing that. But, MM Radio and Dr. Dog and Magpie Sally, my goal as Dr. Dog and coming in with MM Radio when they first talked to me about, doing a show for them is that I don't like the injustices. That bothers me about anything. If it's injustice or if something's not right, I have a problem with that, and I need to talk about it or try to do my best. And am I going to make things right or correct it, or I don't know, but I am going to bring it out to light. I am going to work on a show that does represent the underground of indie artists, and figure out a show that just constantly plays you guys, boom, 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 just like a hamster wheel, round and round. And so there's your rotation, but the rotation is going to be constant. And yeah, we're going to bring in new artists. And, MM Radio and Dr. Dog, we do this show. I do this show for no cost, for free. And the reason I do that is because I love music and I love artists and I love people like you and the music that you create because, and as you know, this takes a lot of time. Magpie Sally editing on his side is just like, I mean, he's like, no time for anything else. And, I'm doing interviews and talks and doing other things. And it's like, we put a lot of time in and we get, zero back financially. And that's okay because we're sitting here doing it. And if it wasn't okay, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this. I'd be saying, no, I need to be paid. But no, I'm giving my time up and, to something I believe needs to be done. And same thing with the industry. I'm going to look again. I mean, am I going to make things all change overnight? No, but I'm going to bring to everybody's attention, like, listen, you guys, the average person, you don't understand this. These guys are getting screwed. These guys are getting bent over. They're getting ripped off. And, they are creating phenomenal music. And, some of the companies, promoters and stuff, they're making this. And, the artists are making this and working their butts off for it. And it's sad. And I like I said, it's an injustice to me that the artists, especially independent artists, because you have to be signed by a label or be mainstream to be out there. That's doesn't make sense to me. Good music is good music. And that's back to the point of that lane has always been over there. Because part of what I had in my plans is this lane over here in the grass is figuring out how to get more of that out to the world. Right. And you're doing exactly that, which is a give back, right? It is a give back. Yes. And it's pointing to people. It's like, here, come. And it's like you're then building it on your word of people going, oh yeah, I like what he's doing. I want to hear more of what he recommends because it cuts through all the clutter. Yep. Well, it cuts through all the clutter. It's reality. It's the truth. And I don't sugarcoat anything. And again, like I said, if wrong's wrong and right's right, that's great. But I always had this, and maybe it was the way I was raised, but I don't sit back for injustice. If I can say something, if I can do something, if I can make a change, I'll do it. I don't just sit back and say, oh, well, that's wrong. They're getting screwed. Oh, too bad. I'm looking at, well, why are they getting screwed? How can we change that? And how can we get this music out to other people? And I go back. I mean, I remember back in my day, the underground radio stations, and it's like, oh man, you found so many great bands on the underground. And did they ever become mainstream? No, but they were phenomenal music. And it's like, I don't care if you're mainstream, low stream, midstream, or whatever. If I like your music, I'm going to listen to you. Plain and simple. It's like popular music. It's popular. Pop music is popular music. Yes. It's that simple. It's this over here is not as popular, but it all depends on what they're putting out there too. It's that they just keep putting, they like that. Let's give them more of that. Yes. People don't know what they want to hear. They don't until they hear it and go, hey. I was just getting ready to say that, especially here in the U.S. and we don't know what the hell we want to hear and listen to. We don't. Everybody is just, they don't know. They don't have any clue of what really they want to hear. There's so much crap out there that, oh yeah, I like that. Oh, I like this. It's like, no, you don't really like it. It's just out there and you're listening to it and that's it. But it's on the menu, right? That's all you got in the menu. Pick one. Yeah. It's like, let's open up the menu a little bit. What about that over there? Oh, well, that's interesting. See, that's my whole point is that we've got a 3 selection menu in front of us right now. Where we could have a 20 selection menu in front of us. And it's just like, why are you cutting, the menu so short when you could expand it? And really, if the radio stations, if the music industry, if they really cared, they would be saying, we need to pump out as much good music, new music, different music as we can, other than like here, I'll listen to a radio station and I hear the same playlist every freaking day, the same artist over and over, the same song over and over. And I'm thinking, dude, whoever's putting your songs together for the station, they need to change it up because it's like you're just playing a replay, even though the disc jockey or the DJ is on there and they're talking, but it's like you're playing the same music.
Well, and then back to the point of serving the song and serving the artist. So when I run into producers that would say, and this seems to be a common statement, well, that's on the radio right now. I don't care what's on the radio right now. Can we do something different? That's on the radio right now. That's there. It's like that painting is on the wall. We don't need to paint it again.
Right.
We don't need paint by numbers. Let's make our own. And it's the same with the sound of songs, like serve the artist. Let's really hear their voice. What's the textures in their voice? That's what I want to hear. I want to hear those little imperfections. Oh, listen to that. Oh, that's cool. Bring it up louder. And the same with production. Verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out. Well, that's good. We all know that's good foundation. So, this started different. Oh, look at that. There is no real chorus. It's just a refrain. Oh, that's cool. That's different. You know what I mean? It's all those things of, yes, you have to have your chops. You have to have the basics, like ballet. Ballet is a good foundation, right? My daughter was a ballerina, long time ballerina. So I understand that foundation. But from that, so now you've got all the moves. You've got the hands. You've got this. That's a good foundation to start.
Yes.
And it's solid. It's solid. It's like learning your guitar. It's found. Now you can start experimenting a little bit. Oh, cool. Oh, we're starting that. We're starting with the chorus. Yeah. Yes. Why not? Why not? It works.
Yeah. No, 100%. You have to have that foundation. And we're going to be coming out with Sorry I'm Late. Here it is.
Had an obligation I had to keep, a conversation I couldn't leave, a ton to do so I didn't sleep, a lot of people I wanted to please. Had a pile of clothes I had to wash, had to raise the kid and walk the dog, grab the groceries and drop them off, had so much to do that I forgot. Sorry I'm late, but there's 1,000 things I had to do today, and another 1,000 things that I would love to chase, that have to wait. Sorry I'm late. Had a stack of bills I had to pay, at 25 years I know that saved me. Had a moment there where I kinda wanted, thought I had enough time, but it took longer. I got caught on another road and the clock didn't stop, and I got older. There were years there where I lost a page, had a lot of plans I couldn't change. Sorry I'm late, but there's 1,000 things I had to do today, and another 1,000 things that I would love to chase, that have to wait. Sorry I'm late. 22 turns 29, 31 turns 35, 41 and 43 run quickly into 50, and 51 meets 53, and right beside is 55, and 56 I can't believe when it's still right at 60. Sorry I'm late, but there's 1,000 things I had to do today, and another 1,000 things that I would love to chase, that have to wait. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad. You know, I'm just I don't know, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm so disgusted about the industry and some of the things that's going on that because I'm old school, and I've been in this industry for a long, long time, and the changes they just kind of just disgust me in ways. It's just like I just don't understand what's going on, why they're cutting the heads off.
I don't know what the plan is. The plan doesn't work. Like when I look at streaming and I think, okay, just from a business perspective, all right, just simple business perspective. Here's Spotify. Let's do this the way a publisher does it, for instance. You provided the song, so you got the product. I got the means to get it out there. We'll split this 50-50. That seems like a good business in to me. It's not about, I don't understand. I just don't understand why that's so complicated. Actually, right now with the writer's strike in LA, I'm on side to go, this is complicated to figure out. I hope they can figure it out, but it's not dissimilar to the problems that musicians are having in the streaming world of not being compensated for what they do.
Exactly.
I've got one song in particular. It's probably got 8 million streams on it at this point. I think, and I'm a 25% writer in it. I think I might have seen about $600 on it over 4 years.
Because you get isn't it like 0.000?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
0.04 for every stream. I mean,
and even that doesn't work. It's just like, it's laughable right now in the streaming world of, you can get shorts with a little tiny pocket in them for running. You put your change in there. The joke is that's where you keep your Spotify money. Right?
Well, if you get any at all, I mean.
No, but that's sad. It's sad.
It is sad.
It's and musicians aren't typically business people who want to sit there and be business managing where their money comes from. And it's such a gray web of where is the money, like Snoop a while ago going, okay, folks, everybody in this room, who the fuck is running streaming in here? Because I got 1 billion streams. That should mean I have at least $1 million, right? Well, I don't got that. Okay, point taken. And so it's not just me over here going, where's the money?
Right.
He's going, I'm talking about massive money here. Anyway, I don't know. It's very convoluted. I don't understand it.
Well, somebody's making the money. We know that. And it's not the artist. And again, when you can refer back to Snoop, which is such a huge artist, and him saying, I've got all these streams and where's my money? And it's not there. Think about 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, these guys were rolling in the money. I mean, they were being compensated. They were being paid for their craft, for their art, and boom, it's just totally flipped. And from what I gather, and it's been a while for us, but talking to the artists, that only way you're going to make any money at all now is getting back on the road and touring again. And it's just
and that shouldn't be the only option.
No.
That's nice, and that should be okay. And if you want to do that, you want to do that. But if you're working your ass off, you should be able to, like they say, well, you can get it on the back end. Where is the back end?
Right.
When they talk about songwriters, you used to be able to, well, Snoop again said, it used to be,
excuse me,
I produced an album, I put an album out. If I put out an album, I had this many albums sold, and I knew what I was going to make on that. That's not the way it is anymore.
Right.
And for songwriters in particular, it used to be, you would write with somebody and you get it on the back end. But now when they say, well, you get it on the back, there's no back end. So now songwriters, like I know when I'm working with people, it's like, well, here's the fee to write, produce, because there's no back end.
No, it's sad. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I sit and think about try to pinpoint where it all changed, and so drastically. It's just such a drastic change from the way that artists and musicians were being treated and compensated and taken care of to basically, we're just going to shove your song out on whatever platforms, and they think they're doing work for you, but they're not. iTunes, iHeart, YouTube, whatever. Yeah, again, that's fantastic. But
it is. It's a great vehicle. There's great vehicles out there.
But if I don't know about you, or I haven't heard you,
I know.
How am I going to find you?
I know.
And that's the key, is that if your song is being played, eventually it's going to be put into people's minds. If it's played over and over and over, they're going to know it. If it's played once every week or every 2 or 3 days with a bunch of other songs, it's like listening to the radio in your car. Okay, you're listening. Yeah, it's a good song. But you don't really, where am I going to find her at? Where do I go look for her at? You just sit there. It's a good song, but nobody knows where to find you and how to find you. And if your name isn't being announced and your song's not being announced, it's like, I don't even know who this person is. Who sang this song? What's the name of the song? I can't even look it up because I don't know the name of the song.
Shazam.
It's just unreal. So getting to the closing part of and this has been a great interview. I want to say thank you so much. What advice would you give to starting artists, beginning artists, upcoming artists that are already out there but are struggling because just what we talked about as far as getting their music out, trying to do something with it, who to trust, who not to trust, anything that you can give these guys, because you've got an extensive amount of knowledge and education, anything that you could give them that they can take and just kind of chew on and think about?
Well, you know what? I would say when it all comes down to it, truly go with your heart. Go with your gut. Be yourself. That's it's fun to be other things, but when it comes down to it, lately I've been saying, live for the real, REAL, as opposed to the REEL.
Yes.
Like life is what happens in between all the posts.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree.
And because it's really one time around, right? And you got to live your life in there too. Your life is what gets you songs. The life is what you write about. The life is what you feel. The life is what gets you through, brings you joy. It's all of that. So live your life, believe in yourself, and go with your heart.
Yes, that's good advice, guys. You should listen to that. That's definitely good advice. Well, I want to thank Rosanne Baker Thornley for being on the show with the dog. I mean, it's been a great time with you, Rosanne, and I've learned a lot just by talking with you, and I really have felt the passion and the commitment that you put into your music. And again, it's not always my experience to find that in an artist, and when I do, it's refreshing. And again, I respect and love all artists and genres of music and musicians, but just like a song, there's some artists that you speak with that really touches you and makes you feel something about their music and how they feel and what they think. So it's been a great honor to have you on my show. And I want to thank you again. And listeners, you can find, let me ask you this, Miss Rosanne, where can the listeners find your music and your videos and stuff?
You know what? I would say probably the best place to find me as sort of my hub would be my website. And I believe this for all artists, that they should be pointing to their websites. And that's where you should then direct where you would like people to go, to your videos, to your SoundCloud, to Spotify, wherever, all the other. But the core of you is your website. So that would be rbtsong.com. And there you'll find, information on me. You'll find the videos. You'll find links to music. You'll find merchandise. You'll find blogs and reviews. And there's two sides to my site. Of course, there would be. There's the artist side you can go into, or there's the writer side you can go into, because they're the same, but they're slightly different. Like on my writer's side, I've always got my camera in front of me. I'm always taking photos of people. So it's not about me so much as my artist side. So that's where I go, rbtsong.com.
You guys got that, rbtsong.com. So make sure, because that's a prescription the doc's going to give you right now. Is 3 times a day, you got to go check that out. Okay, 3 times a day, you got to check that out for the dog. So again, it's been my honor and pleasure to have you on my show, Rosanne, and it's just been great. So everybody else, keep out there rocking. I want to thank Dogbone Studio, Radio, Magpie Sally. Keep on rocking. Dr. Dog and Rosanne Baker Thornley out. We've left the building. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bands, the good, bad, and the ugly with Dr. Dog. On NMIMM, the show where we get real about the up ups and downs of band life.
To infinity and tastiness with MM Radio.